What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Today I wanted to start a small, like a mini-series, if you will, on cleaning your EM. And this information applies to practically any EM that exists. Some of the older machines have slightly different mechanics, but not terribly different. And the bingos have less, but today what I wanted to talk about was the bottom board. Now, I've mentioned it a few times in passing, but typically what it contains, and not in every case again, depending on the era and the manufacturer, they did different stuff. But one of my favorite things about EMs is this bottom board, which typically contained your score motor, it contained your transformer, and it would contain a trip bank once they got so large and unwieldy that they stopped mounting them under the playfield. The beauty of this bottom board is that concentrated in this one area, you have essentially an interconnect between the playfield and some of the trip relays, or the latches. You also have an interconnect between the bottom board and the head, and you have the driving power behind the machine. It's important to ensure that this bottom board is fairly clean, and especially the large chunks of debris are removed. But I like to take it a small step further when I can do so, and that's to actually take the bottom board out of the machine. To do so, there are normally two really large flathead screws that hold the bottom board down, and this kind of transcends manufacturer, but I have seen games where the screws have been removed and lost, and there's one bolt or something of the like, but there should be two flathead screws that hold it down. You take those out, they're relatively short, but they are very big because they have to hold a lot of weight in the transformer. And then remove the Jones plugs that hold the playfield to the bottom board, and the Jones plugs from the head to the bottom board, if such a connection exists on this particular model. And take the power cord and thread it back through the neck if you're able to do so, or if you're removing the power cord because you just got the machine, this is a convenient time to just desolder it and take it out. Once you've done all this, most of the time you're able to just lift that bottom board out, and then you can set it up on a workbench or a table or something else so that you can much more easily review and clean each switch, the function of the relays and the reset latching, and ensure that the bottom board, doesn't have 5 cats worth of fur sitting on it. And underneath of the bottom board, it's important to clean. I mentioned this in the cabinet cleaning episode, I believe, or I intended to. I'm starting to have so much output that I don't remember exactly what I talked about previously, so if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. But underneath the bottom board, critters sometimes will hide under there and die. Normally there is a smell that's accompanied with this. So it's good to take that out. A lot of screws. Hey, maybe some quarters, some nickels, some actual money might come out of it. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, right? So to clean one of these boards, when you unbolt the transformer and you unbolt or unscrew rather, the reset bank or the trip bank and each of the relays, you're left with a piece of wood. And cleaning it should happen like any other piece of wood. You just want to make sure that all the dirt is off. It's a relatively smooth surface. If you're really kind of uptight about it, then you can actually sand the wood, and that'll give you a very nice surface on which you would remount each of the components. Most of the components are pretty easy to identify where they go when you're reassembling, but in order to make things easier on myself, because I'm all about that, if you'll recall, I'm incredibly lazy, I just take off a little bit at a time so that I don't confuse myself. Now, if you take pictures beforehand, and this is one area where it might be advisable if you're doing a full teardown of something like this where it's not obvious where everything goes, if you take photos and then reference those, but the trick is knowing what you don't know. So the first time you do it, if you were to take photos and use those solely for the reassembly, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's critical thinking involved too, right? And that the space that's roughly transformer shaped needs to hold the transformer. You need to go by memory as well as the photos, unless you are very careful to take a photo of every single label on every single relay when you're disassembling the entire thing at one time. Otherwise, you're going to miss something, or you'll put it in the wrong place. The other thing to note, many of the coils for the relays are tied together in parallel, and so they'll only go back on the board one way. That's another clue. But one of the more important things to remember is that not everything is going to have a label, and the things that do have labels might not survive being moved around unless you're very careful. So it's important to know what you've taken off. Again, I don't like to remove the entire thing because, first of all, I'm lazy, but really, the real reason is because I don't want to get anything mixed up when I put it back together. It'd be very easy to do so if you just took out the entire harness for the bottom board. So, once you have the bottom board cleaned, and you've cleaned out the cabinet, of course, then you screw it back in, you thread through your power cord through the neck, solder it back into place, and you should be good to go, at least on the bottom board. So tomorrow I'm going to start talking about how to clean the playfield surface, and then we'll go into detail about waxing. So that's something to look forward to, or not, as the case may be. But it's very important in order to maintain the look, feel, and playability of this machine for years and years to come. And if you don't do it, someone's going to have to. So it might as well be you. The machine's in your hands, right? So, a small addendum to today's show. Vic Camp contacted me and let me know that in New Jersey there's a package bingo deal for 10 bingos, and he is trying to get this taken care of. Someone's passed away, and their widow is trying to move their collection on to someone who will take care of it. So, contact Vic at campgames@yahoo, and let's see if we can get these into a good home. Well, thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com or on the phone at 724-BINGOS-1. That's 724-246-4671. Again, that line I'm envisioning, no one's called it yet as of today, but the second day that I've announced that it's there. But I'm envisioning that people can call and share their EM memories, call and talk about EM problems, or just discuss anything that they'd like to hear on the show. Feel free to call anytime, and it's just a voicemail line, so just leave your message. Be aware that whatever you record on there may be used on the show. And speaking of the show, you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast, and you can follow me on Instagram at nbaldridge. We have a Google Plus page, and you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.